'Tis the season. We are once again seeing serious spikes in COVID, flu, RSV cases all across the country. The question now, are mask mandates coming back? According to one health official in New York, the answer is yes.
Yeah, joining us now for more is Dr. Frank Contacessa. Dr. Frank, all right, we're seeing this increase in COVID cases across the country, but this happened last year at this time as well. It's the holidays, it's the winter time, but we're starting to see some cities and even schools issue mask mandates. Do you think that's necessary?
Well, good morning, Rob and Allison. Yes, we are seeing an increase in cases, and we did see the same increase last year. I don't think the mandates are necessary. Number one, people are tired of this. Actually, Dr. Fauci admitted that the other day, that people are getting tired of mandates. If we look at the numbers, there's a disproportionate amount of elderly people being admitted. So this increase in hospitalizations that we're seeing is predominantly elderly people. That's more than double the percentage of elderly people being admitted to the hospital with COVID. And there's another factor that you have to also consider, which is that hospitals are still considering anyone who's admitted with COVID as part of those numbers. You could be admitted for a heart attack or be admitted for a broken arm, but if you test positive for COVID in the emergency room, you're still being counted in the COVID admission numbers. So yes, cases are going up. There's no doubt about that. But I think people would understand the numbers better if we would make that distinction of why you're being admitted to the hospital.
Yeah, I wish they would stop doing that. I wish they would stop doing that. It's so dishonest. Because it can lead people to think that things are worse than maybe they are. But the Wall Street Journal says that viruses are coming for your holiday seasons. Christmas time, right around the corner. They basically say, quote, Thanksgiving spurred on many more respiratory infections in an already busy virus season. This coming holiday season could be worse, according to public health officials. I was sick as a dog Friday and Saturday. I don't know what I had. I had a temperature. Didn't feel well at all. Started to feel better yesterday. I feel back to normal for the most part. This morning, it came on fast, chills. You know, it's terrible. My wife gets sick. She's sick for like a minute, and I get sick and I am laid up on the couch. But this season does feel a little bit different, in large part because people were masked for so long. Their immune systems just aren't what they were before COVID.
I do think that's a factor, Rob, and I'm glad you're feeling better. But I do think that's a factor. It's very difficult to quantify that, and I think maybe in the future we'll be able to look back at these numbers and do some sort of a statistical analysis to see what was the effect of this on younger, healthier people not being exposed to routine pathogens and affecting our herd immunity across the population. And again, what we're seeing now and what we normally see with something like the flu is that it goes after the most vulnerable. So when you talk about masks or any kind of a mandate, I think we have to focus on protecting those most at risk and leave everybody else alone.
Yeah,
Allison, I lost a little weight.
Oh, well,
you know, I'm a glass half full guy.
Lose weight,
no, I was like, I didn't eat for 2 days. So Sunday, I was like, oh, these pants fit. They fit great.
Yeah. All right. So we heard Dr. Fauci say before Thanksgiving that, you know, you should give people a COVID test or they should take one before coming to your home. So what do you make of that? We've got Christmas 2 weeks from now. Do you think people should take a test? I mean, what would your advice be?
I don't know that that's necessary across the population. You know, if you have somebody living in your home that's at high risk or is immunocompromised, maybe that's a reasonable thing to do. But for most of us who are lower risk populations, I don't think that's necessary. I think that's above and beyond. I think it makes people uncomfortable. So I think we have to have common sense here, where if you're at risk, then we take extra precautions. And if you're not, go about your life.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it sure does. The New York City Health Commissioner tweeted this out a day ago. Quote, while respiratory viruses are spreading at high levels in New York City, there are common sense ways to protect yourself and your loved ones this holiday season. Vaccination, boosters, and wearing a mask indoors or when you are among a crowd. I took the kids skating Thursday before I got sick at Rockefeller Center, and there was a guy out there skating with a mask on, no helmet. What do you think? Back to the masks.
Well, I'll say it again. We have to make a distinction between the general population and high-risk populations. I think putting people back into that mindset is not going to be terribly effective. We're already seeing vaccine fatigue and mask fatigue. The numbers on the uptake of the Omicron booster, the updated booster, are extremely low, which I don't think is a problem for, if a 22-year-old college kid doesn't want to get an Omicron booster, I think that's fine. If an elderly or immunocompromised person, we have to make sure that they're being protected. But for the general population, no. I think statements like that from public health is why people are losing their trust in public health.
Right. Yeah, and they talk about, get a booster and all of this, but then as we were talking about, we've seen an increase in the flu and RSV. There isn't a booster for that. People are getting sick. Obviously, I know hospitals are seeing a shortage of beds, especially when it comes to kids. Very quickly, what's the latest on the antibiotic shortage?
So there are some shortages, and they're typically regional right now. And there are parts of the country where things like amoxicillin and other drugs are in short supply. There usually are alternatives. You might pay a little bit more for them, but there are alternatives. I haven't seen anybody that I've read about or that I've seen in my own practice where I needed to get somebody something for an infection and we couldn't get anything.
Yeah.
So it could
good.
turn into a problem, but right now it's regional.
Yeah, good points, Dr. Frank. Great to have you back on, especially on a Monday. Hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.